Don't confuse them thinking about you with them taking action towards you. And I specifically I don't know why I felt like saying that when it came down to this reading, right? But we're going to dive in deep. We're going to see how they feel about you, if they're thinking about you, and if they're going to take any action towards you, right? But what matters first is how you're feeling about the situation. Okay. You are in a way completely healing. Right? And I feel like you've told yourself that you no longer want to repeat cycles from the past. Why? Because you were holding on to them extremely, extremely tightly. And you were even holding on to the outcome of this relationship really, really tightly. But lately, you have been in this energy of no longer wanting to do that. Right? I personally feel like you are tired. And I don't know why I feel like there's a group of people right here. There's a group of people right here that are still dealing with this relationship. And there's a group of people that are no longer dealing with this person in their reality. Right? So it's coming very, very... It's 50-50. Some of you guys are no longer dealing with your person, and some of you guys are still dealing with your person, maybe wondering if things are going to get better, right? The thing about it is that with the Ten of Swords right here in reverse, there's a lot of healing that needs to be done when it comes down to you and when it comes down to them. I personally feel like you haven't really let go of this person, or I personally feel like you're having a hard time letting go of them, and you're specifically having a hard time healing when it comes down to the situation, right? The thing about it is that you were dealing with a very immature earth sign, right? Very, very high ego. When we get the King of Pentacles is literally in the mindset of, oh, I want this, I'm going to have this, but I'm going to look for people that can provide that for me because I can't provide it yet for myself, right? So it could have been a very immature earth sign, or you are dealing with a person that basically has those qualities, right? But to me, it tells me that the situation right here, this was actually a very long-term thing. One or two things. It's a very long-term situation, or hear me out, it's definitely been taking a while for them to commit to you. It's definitely been taking a while, or it took a while for you guys to become something, right? The Hermit right here does signify, going back to that with Ten of Swords, I'm telling you, the person that you were dealing with needs a lot of mental and physical healing, right? Going back to that, with the Seven of Cups, very, very high ego individual, that they think they have the ability to find anybody who's willing to put up with them, which is not true, right? The Ten of Swords being right here in reverse does signify that to an extent, you could have left them with an emotional wound, right? Or past situations ended up leaving them with an emotional wound. Or the same thing can go for you. The same thing could definitely go for you. Maybe they left you with an emotional wound that you were holding on too tightly. You chose to heal, and then you realize that, hey, there's better for me out there. There's better for me when it comes down to the situation. The way that I see this, or the way that this is basically coming out, to me, it does signify that they're going through a lot of confusion when it comes down to their everyday life, right? I honestly feel like you're no longer communicating with this person, and if you are communicating with this person, you're not really fully telling them everything that's going on your everyday life. You're specifically not telling them what's happening with you. You're specifically not letting them know what is going on with your life, right? It's like, even if you're in my life, even if you're not in my life, I specifically don't want you to be part of my energy, right? And I feel like that's one thing that's bothering them. The fact that they don't have that much access to you, how they did, right? I specifically would like to know, how do my collectives persons feel? How does my collectives person feel? How does my collectives person feel? How does my collective person feel? How does my collectives person feel? How does my collective persons feel? How does my collective person se siente? ¿Cómo se siente esa persona? ¿Cómo se siente? Oh, okay, so I'm picking up somebody with like a darker complexion, right? No, not super, super dark. Moreno? That if in Spanish, that's like people that are tan, super, super, super tan, but are not super, super, super dark, right? That's coming out like very, very heavily right here. A darker skin tone. So you could have a darker skin tone. They can have a darker skin tone. Or when they do tan, they become very, how do we say this? They become a little bit darker than the usual person, right? But specifically, how are they feeling? How are they currently feeling? How are they currently feeling? Okay, so we have the Star, The star being shown right here does signify to an extent this person has some sort of thoughts about you, specifically having to do with the relationship. I want you to acknowledge that the star does mean hope. The star does mean wanting to revive something or reviving yourself, right? So in the back of their mind, specifically right here with the Fool and the star, we could be seeing that there's a new upcoming beginning between you and this person. Am I saying soon? No. Am I saying it's a possibility? 100%. The reason being is because the deck that I'm using is After Tarot. This deck is more to predict the future about situationships. And then we have the Six of Cups. We're here. Oh, we have the Page of... Okay, so we have the Page of Cups. We have the Queen of Pentacles. We have the Six of Cups. And then we have the Six of Wands. Right? So with the Fool and with the Star, this is very, very positive energy coming out about maybe even starting something again. Okay, that's coming out very heavily right here. Specifically because with the Fool and with the Star, that person is still hopeful about it. The problem is that that person that you were specifically dealing with or you are dealing with, even though it means renewal, they're specifically not thinking about what can happen between the both of you down the line. They're specifically thinking about how they're currently feeling at the moment. So what they want is they want to chase a feeling, specifically with the Fool, because he did jump off the cliff and he is holding on very tightly, meaning he's sooner or later going to fall, right? Sooner or later, the grip is going to give up and he's basically going to give up on the relationship again. With the Six of Cups, it does mean reconciliation or it does mean a couple together. The problem being is that we do have the Page of Cups. This person has not gotten to the level of emotional or mental maturity that you specifically want a person under. With the Queen of Pentacles and with the Six of Wands, you have to really ask yourself, do you really want to share your stability again? Or are you really willing to share the parts of you that you know for a fact are only limited to a certain amount of people, right? That's coming out very heavily right here. So yes, things between you and your person can 100% get better. Yes, things between your person can 100% change, and there can be some sort of reconciliation right here. But with the Queen of Pentacles and with the Six of Wands, there's this sort of sacrifice happening from you. There's no sort of sacrifice happening from them. Remember how I told you in the beginning, they specifically in their mind, they think of what people can offer them and what not they can offer people. With the Page of Cups, they're still in that mentality. With the Queen of Pentacles, basically showing off your shiny coin in the sky, it does represent que tú vas a dar más. It does represent that you are eventually going to give more and you're going to suddenly give up on this relationship. Overall, that's all I have for you. I really hope this reading found you some sort of clarity. Take care of yourself.